I'm at REIT Week 2013 in Chicago, and joining me today is Dave Bragg, Managing Director with Green Street Advisors. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
The housing market is showing signs that a recovery is in full effect. How is that affecting apartment REITs, especially in terms of key operating measures?
Sure. The housing recovery is starting to have an impact on the multifamily sector, and we can measure that in a couple ways. The primary one that I would point to is the percentage of apartment residents that are moving out of apartments to buy homes. And so on exit surveys, it's typical for apartment community managers to ask their departing tenants, where are they moving to? The percentage of residents that are moving out to buy homes bottomed in 2012 and is rising at a pace of about 100 basis points to just under 14% in the first quarter. However, that compares to the long-term average of 18%. So we still have a ways to go, but it has this former tailwind for the apartment sector has become a slight headwind.
What is the greatest threat to the health of the residential sector in the current market climate?
Sure. Well, the recovery in the housing market is a threat and it receives a lot of attention. I'd place the top two threats as job growth and multifamily supply. Job growth and apartment rent growth have a very strong correlation over time, and while we're benefiting now from decent job growth, any downside risk to the current run rate would present the greatest risk to Green Street's revenue growth numbers for the next few years. Second, and what is generating a lot of attention today, is multifamily supply, especially in formerly considered high barrier markets such as DC, Seattle, and San Jose. That is a great risk that we'll be able to better quantify during the course of 2013. And then third, I'd place the housing recovery after those two.
Now, there's been a lot of interest in the single-family rental market. Can you tell me what kind of impact that's having on the multifamily sector?
Absolutely. And the interest in the single-family rental market most recently has stemmed from the influx of institutional investors who are entering a variety of markets around the country, including the most distressed markets, and buying single-family homes and renting them out. The single-family rental market itself has long existed. In fact, it has long accounted for more than 30% of rental units. Therefore, while the actual marketplace is not new, it is becoming institutionalized from both an ownership and a management perspective. And this institutionalization of the single-family rental market has caused apartment investors and operators to question the impact. By our accounts, it is actually quite modest. The percentage of apartment residents that are moving out of their apartment units into single-family rental homes ranges from about 1 to 5%, and that compares to 14% of apartment residents that are moving out to buy single-family homes. So while the threat of single-family rentals has increased over the last few years, it is still well below the threat of single-family home purchases.
Thanks again for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
I'm Carissa Chappelle for REIT.com.